Oh,
that one should have been recorded.
Yeah.
I needed some pre-roll.
Yeah. Damn it. I don't need to remind Brad that he's bald. He notices every time he looks at my luscious mane.
Dude, do you know what it's like to have to walk into a room and get blinded by your own self?
I mean, I'm pale enough too. That happens to me in different ways. Man.
You know what it's like to work with the director who calls you by the bald partner's name when you have a full head of hair?
How could you mess it up?
I don't understand how Corey does that.
We don't look anything alike.
Not only do we not look alike, we are totally different personalities.
So to be fair, he couldn't get Rodney and Nate's name in order. I feel better about it.
I feel bad for Josh and Preston on a whole nother level now. Like, all right. Are we ready to go?
You're ready.
Let's do it.
Welcome to Hashtag Set Life.
Hell yeah. Welcome, everybody. Hashtag Set Life is the show where Joe and I bring on friends from the industry to chit-chat about what happens on set. Just behind the scenes. Think of it like DVD commentaries of old, where we get to chitty-chat about all the shit that happens behind the set. And today, we've got with us first assistant camera, Ian Carroll. Ian, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
glad
absolutely.
to be here.
Before I move past your introduction, are there any other qualifiers that you have?
I work professionally as a first assistant camera, but small personal projects I try to produce, direct, shoot. As much as possible.
What is your ultimate aspiration in the film industry?
I mean, we all reaching for the top, AC. Right? What do you think your path? What's your current trajectory?
When I was in school, I wanted to be a cinematographer.
Okay,
but the more that I'm around sets, I just want to produce. Really.
Oh, okay,
interesting. That turnkey kind of guy.
Yeah, you see everyone else doing it, and you're like, well, if they can't do it, I should be able to.
Absolutely,
I can definitely see that. You got a head on your shoulders.
Thank you.
You know enough about the production world. I think you could pull that off. I'd like to see that transition.
Appreciate that.
So let's start from the beginning. Have you always wanted to work in film?
So no. When I graduated high school, originally I was going to go to school for mechanical engineering. Believe it or not.
Okay.
MIT.
Is that a family business, or is that just what you always thought you might want to do?
So my father is in engineering. Mm-hmm. When I was in high school, I took a lot of CAD classes.
Oh, I did too. Yeah. Nice.
So I really liked drafting and just that whole process, but the math was just way too hard. When I got
that's
to
why
college,
I didn't do computer programming. I love math, but I don't like it for a living.
Oh, I like real math.
Oh yeah,
like geometry.
I like the puzzle of being able to sit down and solve
figuring something out.
Problem.
Yeah, but like using math to explain a draft. Like, I don't numbers for a drawing.
Theories and equations.
The artist in me. Yeah,
absolutely. I agree.
That's the fast track to becoming an ibuprofen addict.
Brad would know.
Get to a point where you're just snorting this shit because of the headaches you have.
That's hilarious.
So, if that was that all the way up through graduation, at what point did you shift?
So I graduated high school right when COVID was happening.
Oh yeah.
So my only options. So I got accepted into Grand Valley State. That's where I was gonna go. But like literally a month probably before I was going to start, I decided to stay home and go to OCC because I knew it was going to be only online.
Yeah.
I've never really been a great student.
Sure.
So I had a feeling that I was going to go spend a bunch of money and probably not do so well.
Sure.
So I decided to stay home and go to community college, and I still did pursue the engineering. But my friend Madison Santia, who you know from Corruption.
Yep.
She was going to MPI, Motion Picture Institute, and she said, you should come check this out. So I went and took a tour, and I was like, this is where I'm going to end up.
Did movies, I mean, we all watch movies, but did movies have a particular grab on you as an interest growing up? Or was it just casual because like everyone, you see movies and that'd be cool?
So growing up, I never was like, I'm going to make movies. But they were definitely a big part of my childhood. I mean, like we talked about earlier, Stand By Me, Sandlot, all these movies that are just so important, I want to say, to just like, growing up. They're just
those are
stories.
Great coming-of-age movies and transgenerational, too.
Absolutely. Right. I mean, you guys enjoy those movies just as much as I do.
Right, which I think is great. And, I don't mean this in any condescending way because, generationally, we're a bit older, Joe and I. We mentioned on the last show we're in our 40s, and you're in your 20s, right? So there's a gap there. And that, in my experience, because, through life, I've met a lot of younger people, and I'm younger to some others. And there's always that crossover of what you did. Like my dad, even now, knowing that I'm in the industry, will recommend a movie and be like, oh, you probably won't be interested in that because it's black and white. And I'm like, well, hold on. I mean, that's
Right.
I fucking love that shit.
I love Casablanca.
But that's an assumption that a lot of boomers will a lot of boomers
black
call
and
it.
white,
Was it Casablanca?
Yes, it was.
Oh, I'm thinking of the one. Damn it, Gone with the Wind. I was thinking Gone with the Wind.
Yeah,
You're right.
that-
Casablanca.
That was Technicolor,
You're right.
yeah.
My apologies.
So, actually,
yeah.
going back a little bit, I did take a film class in high school where we got to make like little short films on our phones, and we watched Casablanca in that class, and I hated that movie.
So here's the thing. First off, I love that.
It was of a generation.
I love that they're showing you how to make movies with your phones. Like I love that. I love that younger generations can get involved more with content creation earlier than we were able to. My family didn't have a home video camera until I was probably 9 or 10.
My daughter's on Roblox on her tablet making movies with stop motion.
While we had a
Beautiful,
camera, that cost our family so much money that it was for dance recitals and baseball games and picnics, and like it wasn't for me to go fart around with the neighborhood friends.
There's no tape.
You just couldn't.
Just sitting by.
Yeah.
No, that's
So like that has changed.
called Kodak.
What I don't like is I don't think that it's like I'll use this example. Growing up in music, I love music. Music is huge to me, and I don't understand why through all of my elementary school and then once you get into middle school and high school, you have to take music classes. So about elementary school for most students, that's when you're done quote unquote learning music. It's always classical music or hot cross buns, and not really exploring something that actually would relate to a child. And Casablanca is not
Jacob
for
Jingleheimer Smith.
yeah, it's not
Joe and the Button
a movie
Factory, all
because
that
you can
bullshit.
take a movie like so Stand By Me is rated R, so you'd probably have to put the permission slips out to watch it in a film.
Is it
class.
really rated R?
Yeah, it's rated R.
It is, yeah, because it shows dead body.
And it was pre PG-13 R, so I mean it could have been maybe PG-13,
That's what
but
I
it's
was
an
thinking,
R.
Yeah, but,
Either way,
there's a lot of vomit.
there are other movies that could be used that
Leeches on penises.
Really? Okay, so
Facts.
let's go back a couple of episodes when we were talking about Three Ninjas.
I love that movie.
Right? And I was like, look at what you can learn about filmmaking from watching Three Ninjas.
Yeah, 'cause
if you
it
can
is a
watch
shitty
something more
B-budget.
appropriate, and even if it's not a Casablanca,
But this is
or-
one of those shitty B-budget movies that was so like
But
every American.
how are you
that
going to
it
show?
made
How old
this
were you?
huge
What grade was that
impact.
class? You said middle school, right?
No, that was
They said
high school.
high school,
okay.
Maybe junior
So
year.
you were less than 17.
Yes.
Right? And now you were expected, you were shown Casablanca. Now you're to go
From
out and create.
1954.
What was your assignment? 5 minutes, several scenes? Like it was
For our project?
Yeah.
I don't want to say that we were really limited,
But
we
it
were
was a
limited in
short.
the time to shoot it. So I think everybody just understood that
You're
it had
not
to
going
be
to make
short.
Casablanca.
No.
You know what I mean? Like show something that's a little bit more
But Casablanca
reachable.
was the example given to you to
So
inspire
we
you for
would watch.
these shorts. Or?
We would watch maybe a movie a week, and we had to take notes on it and then take a test on it. But the
So cinema history in an effect.
Which
Kinda,
again,
sorta.
I appreciate showing older movies to younger. Like that at all is not what I'm so much against.
no, but honestly,
I
that's
feel,
what we're here doing.
right.
This
But I
podcast
just feel
is to
like
bring
so for
attention.
me,
it's a little bit more entertaining than the class I was in. I'll give you guys that.
I appreciate that. I appreciate
I
that.
also didn't really like my teacher very much.
Teachers are shitty teachers, yeah.
When I was a freshman in college, I took a film appreciation class, and we saw. I honestly don't remember all the movies that we saw, but there was a good variety of them. But the one we knew that our last assignment was going to be Citizen Kane, and the one before that was the Martin Scorsese Rolling Stones movie, which I fell asleep through. I didn't end up watching it. And I was like, why am I watching it? It was my Tuesday class, and I'll be honest, I was dating and stayed out too late and just missed the class. But when it came to Citizen Kane, I mean, burn me if you want, but I don't think it's a great movie. I understand what he did. I appreciate what he did. But as a standalone movie, like You're telling me that in the 50, 60 years since that movie was created, we can't come up with another example that's better for newer audiences to absorb and learn? I'm not saying don't mention Citizen Kane, but to still, for me, if you're in high school or I'm not high school, college, Reservoir Dogs is a better, concise use of learning editing, shot composition, usage of color, usage of dialogue, like locations, but like it hits all of those things, and it's more modern to appreciate for a student.
It doesn't have Sir Michael Caine.
No, it doesn't have Michael Caine. Citizen Kane doesn't have Michael Caine. It's got Orson Welles. It's freaking 1930 something.
I feel like Citizen Kane had to happen for us to be where we are.
This is what I'm saying. I 100% appreciate
the remake of Citizen
everything
Kane
that it did.
Michael.
I appreciate everything that it stands for, and I think that you have to, even now, so nowadays, I think you'd have to first be wowed by modern movies and then go back and be like, this is what we would have like this without this.
The original Clash of the Titans isn't going to hit a home run for a middle school or high school student of modern day. It's a capital example of stop motion where it's like,
so if you go in and say like, oh my God, you're going to love this movie, rah, 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 and then it's toys fighting each other. It's like, okay, but why don't we watch Nightmare Before Christmas?
Right.
And then watch Clash of the Titans and be like,
gonna touch with the
Nightmare Before Christmas could not exist without the work that was done in Godzilla 100%. And Clash of the Titans. That's where I stand on Citizen Kane.
Chicken Run.
You know what I mean?
We can go on.
It's not
Robot
that
Chicken.
It isn't important. Robot Chicken.
Yeah. Action figure stop motion.
You're talking.
Thank you, Seth Green.
15 minutes of Robot Chicken is like 8 examples of watching what's happening. Now it's inappropriate.
That's 80 hours of actual work.
That is an absolute brain melt of a show to watch.
But here's the thing: I got a couple of DVDs from that that had behind the scenes, and watching them shoot that frame by frame with a Mark V, like it opened up. Like, okay, essentially, yes, they have skill, they have education, they have a lot of things that is important.
A lot of nostalgic toys.
But what they also had was...
Wait, I have all those things.
Exactly. They also had a 4x5 green screen table with toys and a camera. Yes, they had a Mark V, but it was going on national TV. You could still take your everyday...
Canon T3i.
And do the same
quite literally,
thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Bradford and I have done it.
So
for local cable, but
that's where I'm at with like the education standpoint of how we present things to kids. I don't think we should. While I'm appreciative of old cinema, and we recently talked about the original Nosferatu and how like it holds up in a way. I can't expect everyone to enjoy Nosferatu because of its age.
But dude, the nods to Bela Lugosi's Dracula, to the original Nosferatu,
and that's the thing.
To
so
the Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman
first, then you can appreciate where Nosferatu came from.
But it also has all those notes to give, if you really appreciate the new one, to give you curiosity to search back and see where the origins of where that came from.
I mean, I just don't think we need to force old cinema down. Like, I think that someone would walk away with a better appreciation for anything if you're not forcing them, right?
Yeah.
And the thing too, I think kind of what we're getting at is like, we have like a certain standard for what a movie should look like nowadays, opposed to what they used to. So looking back, we can appreciate those things, but you have to kind of start with how things are now to be able to appreciate where we come from.
100%. Right. Yeah.
Recently, I listened to a podcast that was talking about Snow White. Now, I don't personally like Snow White as a movie, the original.
Oh, the animated.
Right.
Okay.
Growing up, by the time I saw it in probably the late 80s or early 90s, it was already 30 plus years old. I think it's 80s, it was almost 50 years old, right? It was made in 37, 36, something probably, like that.
Yeah.
Wow. But so it was boring. Pinocchio to me was boring. As an adult now, and then listening to what Walt went through and the experiments and the first that it was and what it did to create what we have now, I have a greater appreciation for it. So while
I'll give him his credit, but he's still a fucking anti-Semite.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. That aside.
Different time.
Yeah, that aside.
Different time.
But the creation of what happened because of his trials and errors is something that we need to study and need to appreciate. And I learned a lot from this particular podcast that was enlightening. And I'm like, you know what? I have at that point had a different view of my thoughts on Snow White.
Sure.
That doesn't mean I have to force myself to enjoy it. If it just doesn't hit, it doesn't hit. But as a child, it didn't hit, and there was no way for you to get me to understand
There's a lot of hits that missed you.
the effort that goes in to the creation. I'm just being honest, you know.
I'm pleased.
I think there are a lot of people that, you know, and I have dissenting opinions on a lot of things. I'm not a huge Led Zeppelin fan. I appreciate them for their music. They have some bangers. I can't listen to them all the fucking time. It's just that's the way it is.
Yeah,
I listen to Stairway to Heaven so many times that like it's just
what they're good at.
You know, it's a song.
They made other songs, Bradford.
but the radio never plays them. I love. I mean,
Hey, Mama said the way you move.
well, that whole album is
make you groove.
Yeah. I'm using it as an example to the fact that like sometimes there's titles or artists that we put on a pedestal that start to no longer get actual criticism because as a whole, like somehow they're impervious to it. And I stand outside that where I'm like, yeah, it's great. You know, I'm on the record of saying that my favorite director will never be Steven Spielberg. He's done great things for our industry. I don't look up to him, and that's fine. It just is. It just is.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about art.
Opinions.
Yeah, exactly. The thing about art is it's so subjective.
Yeah.
It's so subjective. There's no one way to make anything.
And
It's
the
just-
one thing I will always agree with you on when it comes to the Steven Spielberg thing is the only reason people call him the greatest is nostalgia. And you don't have that connection, which makes perfect sense.
Right.
But if you had that connection, you'd have a slightly different take on some of these movies. But
Which I respect.
I personally am thoroughly, no matter how I act or what I say, thoroughly refreshed of the juxtaposition of my nostalgia for all these movies that you don't have.
Sure.
It gives a fresh explanation, a fresh take on it that even like most of America, no offense, have these nostalgia points.
Sure, absolutely. So you went to MPI pretty quickly. Was there like time off, or was it like you transitioned? You're like, all right, I'm going to.
Because you said you were studying engineering. Did you like just quit a semester and join MPI right away, or did you take some time off?
So what happened is graduated in the spring. In the fall, I was at OCC.
Did you graduate in 2020?
2020.
Yeah, this is a bad year to graduate. My daughter graduated that year.
Yeah,
I got done with school in like March, though.
Well,
So
my
there was that.
daughter went on spring break and never came back.
Literally.
Her spring
that's
break,
what it was.
her
Yeah,
spring break
same.
was on the couch.
I didn't even
and-
get spring break.
That's what I'm saying. Her spring break was on the couch. I was working in Ann Arbor, and college spring break starts a little bit earlier. All of these people going to Italy and like out of the country.
Straight lockdown.
Italy's, they couldn't get home.
got locked in Italy. Man.
People debating like, well, we're hearing that they might shut down borders. Should I go on this vacation I spent $3 fucking grand on or
you
whatever?
weren't getting no goddamn refund.
Yeah.
You might as well go to Italy and stay there.
That's a weird time. Not just
more for your
in
money.
general, like as a life. It was bad for all of us. It's weird. It's unique. But now, like you're in a point where like life, like you have to make life decisions. Everyone else was just go to college, but the world's changed.
Absolutely, the world changed. So I graduated in the spring. Fall was OCC. Next spring, I went to Macomb Community College to do drafting specifically, where I was in actual drafting classes. And then summertime, fall time, I worked for my buddy's dad's sprinkler company.
Okay.
And I was not really sure what I wanted to do. I was very discouraged from the engineering.
Yeah.
And that's when Madison reached out to me, because Madison started that fall that I was working.
Oh, okay.
And
so you guys overlapped classes at MPI.
So when you're at MPI, you stick with just your class and you go through the whole process.
Right.
So,
That's how it was at Specs for us.
yeah. So actually, I've known Madison since middle school, really.
Okay.
And we're the same grade. And MPI offered a winter start for the first time in their history. And that's when I started, was in February. So I didn't have to wait very long to, like, I would have had to wait a full year to get in.
When does the years usually start? July, August?
The fall starts in September, I believe, and the winter starts February, March time. Because I started in February, and I think I graduated in March of the following year. And that really just kind of slingshotted me into my career.
So when it comes, and I think we've had a couple of MPI guests on here, and so I'd just like to ask, because it's local, and I support what they do and what they are able to provide us after with their students in graduation. What was your experience at MPI like?
So what was kind of unique about the first winter start is there was 13 people in my class.
Oh. Okay.
So we all crewed together on all of our projects all the time pretty much.
That's a perfect number for a small crew.
It really was. And, we didn't need everybody all the time. It's kind of just like one person departments. I mean, that workload.
Yeah, he got you used to it.
Yeah, it really did. Wearing a lot of hats. But what I really did like about the program is that you write the script, you shoot the script, you direct it. I mean, you don't necessarily have to shoot it, but that's kind of what I was interested in. So I did shoot my projects. And then you edit them. Mm-hmm. So you see the full film process, whether it's a 4-minute short.
They take you to the full spectrum.
Yeah, absolutely. And they do hold your hand pretty nicely through it. Like I never felt...
And if it's your project, you run the helm, but
absolutely.
You're also asked to step into other positions for other
people's projects.
Other people's projects that they're helming.
Man,
right.
I don't think I ever actually did sound, which I mean, blessing. I was not very. I'm a short dude.
I'm not a good sound person.
But I did shoot. I did. I think I really did mostly shoot. Looking back on it,
I'm a great sound person. I fucking hate it.
Really, it is a unique spot to be in.
Much respect for sound.
Absolutely, me too.
Much.
Me too, because like what we were talking about earlier, like you can't have bad sound.
The isometric workout alone, just holding that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Those are like the people that I will always have respect for in our industry as the sound people, because no one ever talks about that.
No.
And they are really sitting there all day. Just
a refrigerator when you're filming in a bar, like these things. It's just crazy.
It's a wealth of knowledge that needs to be had that. If you don't know already, by the time you get to post, you will know how important it is.
Oh, I mean, I've already worked on movies that have come out that I'm like, oh, that sound is not very good. Even if it's just for a scene. I mean, that throws everything off.
It can.
I've had ones that were like 90% ADR because of that.
Yeah.
Just because of the environment we were in.
Right.
Like too close to the airport, you can't get
well, there's just things that you can't control. And that's unfortunately sometimes, from an AD standpoint, I get it. And I know that you want this, but like you chose this location. I'm sorry, I can't stop traffic. We got to shoot.
Mm-hmm. So actually, one thing I think of why I actually fit in so well as a filmmaker is because I've always been really quick on my feet to solve problems. But I've always been a creative. Like, I don't think I could have worked an office job, and if I did, I'd be pulling my hair out very quickly.
And as you said earlier, like you studied CAD, computer-aided drafting and design. I studied that as well because my ultimate original aspiration was to be an architect, right? But I loved movies, and I was raised by an accountant and a construction worker.
Yeah,
do something practical, right? Yeah. Reach for the stars, but not Hollywood stars, right? Which to me, all these practical things that I tried, I was successful at, but I was miserable.
Mm-hmm. So I think another thing too is I'm very grateful of my upbringing. Is my parents never forced me to.
They didn't gatekeep you on what you wanted to do.
They let me kind of figure out my own way.
Yeah,
so.
And I think that's important. I think, especially being someone who's been through multiple career changes over the last 20 years. Being a father, when I hear my daughter, talking about her feelings on work, while there's a certain responsibility we have to sometimes we don't like our job, you got to go. But if she has an idea that she wants to try, now is the time to do
Absolutely.
it. Try it. If you fail, you fail, but at least you tried. And give yourself that time and that space. And the creatives is nothing but that.
You cannot be afraid to fail.
Success
comes through multiple failures and finding yourself in those failures.
Hundreds of failures.
Yeah. And how you react to that failure. How do you bring yourself out of the mud?
And one of the blessings that I think people outside the industry don't really realize is because every day is different for us, the crews that we work with are different, which means that we have a plethora of people to learn from and to gather new experience. And you're not seeing the same grumpy Joe with the coffee on a Monday morning that is just grumping about how terrible it's been the last 40 years in this job. You get more perspective and sure, you're going to get the negative Nancy's, but at the same time, let me just ask you, being 2 years now,
This is my third year.
Third year in the industry. Would you say that you've come across people that offer enough positive reinforcement or advice that you were able to, catalog that?
Yeah. So honestly, I've always been like a people person. As much as I tell my mom I hate people, she always tells me, you don't.
I am the biggest people person. I love people watching. I love seeing the differences. I hate individuals.
Yeah.
I
know what
love
you're
you.
saying.
I love Brad. I love most people, but like when it's just a random passerby, I'm more like,
Oh, okay. So
like I'm not a people person, but I am a people person because I love humans.
yeah.
But I don't like a person.
But so I think what you're trying to say is like you take people for who they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Directly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually, I don't know. I feel like I'm very similar
Sometimes
in that way.
getting too close to them, you're just like, what?
Yeah.
But I think that's like one of my favorite parts of the industry. Like you're saying, is you work with new people all the time. So I'm constantly meeting people, and I mean, your first impression with people is huge in this industry. I mean, like I could have a bad set and never get called back ever again.
Brad and I have said this whole time we've had this podcast. You are your own brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, when people talk about someone that I haven't met yet, I try to take that with a grain of salt because
you want to make your own evaluation.
Absolutely, because I know that I've had bad days at work, and what if it's a 3-day shoot? I can have 3 bad days in a row.
It's the worst when it's a 2 or 3 day shoot and you have such a small amount of time to make an impact.
But sometimes people are bad for 2 weeks straight.
I mean, let's say you got like a loved one in the hospital and you've got a 2-day shoot and that's the 2 days they're in the hospital. People aren't getting the real you. You know what I mean? They're not getting the joyous Ian Carroll that I've grown to love. You know, they're probably getting the worst part of you, which is probably still fine, but you feel bad about it.
Yeah, that's a great perspective to give. But yeah, I mean, really just problem solving and the people, like I just love it. Every day is a new challenge. Every set I'm on, I'm always learning. Like that's the biggest thing is like, I never want to stop learning as a filmmaker because that's how we grow as a community, really.
I agree. That's, I mean, 100%. For me, that's my ultimate goal every time I take a new job is how can I learn something new? Like the last job that we were working on, the fact that we got to work with more pyros and certain special effects setups was new to me as far as the position that I was in. I'd worked on it before in other positions, but it allows you to figure out, okay, what did we do great this time? What could we do better next time?
This is the first time you were on the logistic sides of squibs and explosions.
Correct.
So what's cool that you said that you've seen it from other sides is that
like
the job that you have gives you a completely different perspective of a film set.
Does,
yes.
Because your responsibilities are completely different.
Yes.
I mean, when I'm ACing, my responsibilities are camera equipment, keeping the shot in focus, keeping my DP happy, stuff like this.
Keeping the camera operational.
Absolutely, because the camera can't go down. You can't shoot without a camera. So, but like when I PA, completely different. I feel like when I PA, I really see the set as a whole. Yeah. Because my responsibilities aren't specific.
Right.
Transcend every department.
Whatever you were personally assigned to, keep crafty full, empty the trash cans. It's not that the work is, first off, it's important. Thirsty? Someone needs to do it, but it doesn't take a lot of your mental bandwidth to keep an eye on that stuff, so you can utilize your mental bandwidth to observe what's happening around you.
Great point.
And that's why I fight for the importance of PAs so much.
A good PA is so important because everybody else is so focused on their job. We need somebody picking up that slack.
Well, and it's a good opportunity for you to experience what you don't already know and see what's happening. Learn what a DP does, because you might have just thought camera department was a guy with a camera. And now you see 3-4 guys, coming together and building the camera, changing lenses, running 2 cameras, whatever it may be.
And as Ian has said, it affords you the opportunity to sit back and see the set as a whole and go, that's where I would like to be as I progress in my career.
Right.
Yeah, and
PAs are so important. Come in, do that job, but find out what you want to do. Find where you fit in.
Yeah.
Without lacking on providing for the people who are doing the jobs you maybe want.
Yeah. And the thing too,
That's
like
how you,
when I AC, right? Like I'm needed for every shot.
Right.
Like, I have to be there for every shot. I'm pulling focus, or even if I'm second, I'm slating.
Yep.
You know, I'm
have
there.
to be present always.
Yeah, but when you're a PA, man, I'll go shoot the shits with the hair and makeup, with the actors that aren't being shot right now.
Right.
So you
I
get
mean, half the
whole
job
role.
is like walking with an actor from point A to point B,
Absolutely.
so they don't get lost
or you're going on runs and you're not even on set.
Oh yeah,
Right.
like one of my favorites. I worked on Stealing Jokes, Jake Seipert, and he is a PA, and they put him on transport. And I loved bullshitting with him because he wasn't on transport all the time. But once they put him on transport, he never came back because he was so thorough. And he was bitching about it. I'm like, Jake, you found your value, bro.
Yeah.
You are getting people to set on time. When I told him that, he enjoyed it more. He's like, you're right. I get to bullshit with everybody. I get to talk with people that you don't even get to talk. You got to talk to the director and shit.
Right. Find the positive.
Yes.
Find the positive.
And from
in every
that job
that you do.
From that job, he did one other PA thing for like the Super Bowl or something down there with Ryan De Silva. And after that,
he's
First AC, and it went straight into DP. Like he found his space, he owned his role, he found his comfort, and he rocked it, and he just ran with it.
Yeah,
and that's what a good PA does.
What have you found? First off, how did you land on ACing?
On what?
Being an AC.
The first AC.
Oh, an AC. Sorry, AC. So when I was in film school, I was definitely like the camera guy of our class.
Yeah.
I was deep. Like,
are you an equipment nerd? Like, does the fact that okay?
So that's the main reason why I don't really want to be a DP anymore, because I've met people that just know everything about
nerds.
cameras and lenses and what movies they were used on. And I was like, you're meant to be a DP.
Yeah.
That's you. Like, I'm just some guy that knows some stuff.
Don't let that.
Oh, it does it. Actually, I think that really allowed me to branch out more, because that's what I thought I wanted to do.
That's awesome.
And then I met these people that were like, you know, because everyone meets someone that's just so perfect for the role that they're in.
Yeah.
You're an amazing gaffer. You're an amazing AD.
Thank you.
Right? Like, you guys have the perfect personalities for the positions that you fill in for, or that you do. Sorry, not fill in for.
Right.
And,
Well, like we've both been actors. There are other draws for us for other positions. But what you're saying is we found ourselves in what suits us.
Absolutely. And sometimes it just happens naturally.
Yeah.
That's what it did for me.
I love camera, but I've been a PA on sets, so normally when I PA, I try to weasel my way into a department.
Yeah.
Because
So I think first off,
that's kind of what it's for.
That's what you need to do.
Yeah.
Find an
As long as
isolated.
you own the position and you do your job, please weasel.
Highly recommend that.
because, like, I went to school for this. Like, I don't need to go on food runs. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like, I know enough of what I'm doing in different departments to go be an extra hand. Like, that movie that you filled in for a day on, I was gripping. I gripped because I realized we had one gaffer doing all of the lighting.
Yeah.
So I was like, I know how to
Dude, he made my day so
C-stands.
easy. He stepped in every time. He's like, Joe, you got to carry like 4 things. What can I take?
Yeah. Like, I can bring
loved it.
C-stands. I can throw a flag up, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I can do just, like, the basics. Like, I don't need to, talk to the director about
But what you
the
don't
lighting
know,
is.
you've now put yourself in a position to be with someone who can teach you something new. So it's possible by the end of the day, you've helped him make his day better, but you could walk away with a wealth of knowledge that you didn't have at the start of the day.
Absolutely.
I think
and
that did happen that day.
Absolutely.
Honestly. We sat in the car for like 30 minutes during
lunch.
and just talked music and setups and
talking
just
about
bullshit.
Redman and hitting the bowl and
Prof,
doing real grip stuff right there, smoking in the grip truck, allegedly.
Pack of lunch. Pack of lunch.
Yep. So yeah, that was a great time. And just
There's
like,
that fucking coaster again.
Yeah, it's a bit muggy in this room, and I've been having to drop mine too. That's okay.
This whole day's been muggy.
That's all right.
You should smell my nuts.
So, do you see yourself long term in the camera department? Are there other departments you still want to try out? I only ask that because you're relatively new, or are you comfortable? Like, you know what? I found my niche. I'm just gonna see where this takes me and continue developing from there.
I think that being a first is probably my favorite thing to do because I love the responsibility. I really do. Like, I feel like I'm a reliable guy. Like,
You are, dude. You nail
I
that
show
shit.
up on time.
Yeah.
I think I handle
You've got a
stress very
positive
well.
attitude on set. You're 100% reliable, but you're also responsive to communication and like one with the team. I've never had I've never had to get Ian in line. Like you were just already there and already ready to do, or have already done the next thing. Like the number of times that I'll be like, "Hey," and you're like already doing it,
or
That's
like,
key.
or the point where like to speak up and be like, I need another one. I was a little soft.
100%.
I will always say
Yeah,
that. If
but
they
a
want,
lot, you'd be surprised how many don't.
if they give me one shot and I know it's not picture quality, like I'm gonna say something.
That's
like,
what your name
it's
is on.
Exactly, it's my name.
Yeah, and
But-
you have to own your role.
And going off my name, I think that my name spreads as an AC. Like I don't think I really rarely ever get hired other than like a PA, but like no one's ever hired me as like a grip. I would love to do grip stuff. I don't know a whole lot about it, but
Right.
I'm a
But you're curious enough to want to. I mean, because
You're vigilant enough. I'd give you a shot.
there are some ACs that do have consistent work, but we're in a market where sometimes you have to be diversified to keep working. I grip, I AD. They're two completely different things,
yeah.
but I got to do what I got to do.
Years and years and years ago, Brad and I had our own company, and we were both shooting, both editing, all this stuff. And when I started getting success as a gaffer, I would bring him on as a grip, and he's like, you know what, I think I want an AC, because we were both kind of birthed from camera work. And I was birthed from set construction into the camera work, so there's a different field there. But at the same time, once he got into the AC world and he was actually getting his own work, he realized what was lacking that he saw that he wanted to fit. And that's when he decided, you know what? Start building your grip team. I'm going to step away from AC work. Stop hiring me for a minute. I want to try to be a first AD. And I don't think I really saw a real first AD in the Detroit film market till Brad put his hat in the ring. And since then, I mean, the game has changed.
Yeah, dude, so the AD position, you need a certain kind of person, because I've worked with people that are
Friendly but
AD
assertive.
on paper, but they've never done it before, or they just don't have the personality to do it.
Hell, I've done it.
Yeah, and it's just like, if I look at the AD and we're at 12 hours and I'm like, hey, we're at 12 hours, and they say, okay. That's not what I want to hear from the AD.
That's the second time we've got a snore from Brad tonight.
That is the person that I want. Like, okay, so Brad has this look that says a million words, okay? I'll be like, I don't even have to say anything. I'll look at Bradford and he'll give me that look, a little nod, and we're on the same page of, stuff's got to get moving, because I'm not trying to be here till 4 a.m. Like, I like sleeping.
Yeah, we all agree.
I
on
love
12.
sleeping.
We all agreed on 12, but I think we'd all be happy with 10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I would love a good 10-hour day.
Absolutely. One of the things that's most exhausting
Even
when
if it's
I'm
10 to shoot and then nice slow to
that's what I'm getting to.
Cool with that.
When we're trying to plan out, and
So
we've got
that bang out everything in half an hour to get home on time.
this many pages, this many scenes to get through yet, and it's this time, and they'll be like, well, we have until the 12-hour or the 12-and-a-half-hour mark, and I'm like, guys, they still have to wrap out. You've got equipment in 3 different rooms. Like, you can't work to the minute
This
and
is
not make it
something-
not count.
You bring up a great point here. This is something that I tell my grips all the time. If we've left a room, clear it.
Yes.
I don't want to have to walk it and go, why has this been here for 6 hours? And if I tell you to clear it and you ask, are we coming back?
Maybe.
Right. So this weekend.
But that's my job to find out from the...
Right.
You do what you fucking told
You know
me.
how many times I've walked past an F-22 just sitting in a corner
just
all day?
sitting there.
Not even
never,
on.
ever being used.
Just sitting
Ready to go. It's
'Cause
been
it
on
was built for
standby
prep.
for 17 hours.
It's always the F-22. I don't know what it is about that light, but it's just always that light.
Dude,
Well, it's
so
a nice light.
versatile,
Yeah,
it's powerful. It's light. I can menace arm it without a counterweight.
It's a lightweight menace arm.
Yeah, I now use that more as a hair light than I do tubes. 'Cause
Yeah.
tubes are actually heavier and give off less.
And they put out a lot with a little.
Yeah, and another thing about being versatile is I want to learn lighting, because when I was at MPI, like they teach you everything, but it's so fast. Like I learned lighting, I learned how to light, but it's like I don't use that.
Ever since I heard that, what's his name, perished, rest, condolences.
Oh, Kurt,
Yeah, one of the main instructors.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
I've kind of had this inkling to just go over there and talk to the guy and be like, because in my opinion, I know the school's good. I know that they're well-rounded. Everybody I've met, like you, Quinn, anybody,
Jake.
Yeah, Jake. A lot of people, not everyone, mind you, no names.
Oh, but I wasn't like that when I was in school.
But anybody
too,
with a head on their shoulders gets the education they need to go forward from that.
Yeah, anyone can go, not everyone can come out talented.
I agree. That's a great way to put it.
Real lack I saw was of the tech part of the crew. A little more delving into that.
I will
world.
say, as someone who's gone there, I think it's more catered towards producers, directors, writers.
Yeah,
and that's what I've heard.
And you just get the people that fall in love with the camera, that fall in love with lighting.
Yeah,
I have this idea in my head. Do I want to go to the director and throw my hat in the ring and say, I think your school could be better if you had a tech guy here?
I mean, you really could.
Maybe I could be a teacher for 5 years.
There's others that we know that have stepped up to be instructors. So I mean, that's a personal thing. And I don't think
personally, I think that's the next natural.
I don't think
for me.
I don't think
How
that's
else
a bad
do
idea.
I get my style out into this?
Talking about,
I see so much lack of knowledge.
You're saying the writers, producers, directors, that's what they come in expecting, right? Is that what you mean? Or do you mean the education is geared towards that?
The education is geared towards that.
Yes, but so
you have
every semester you have a class of editing, camera, lighting, sound.
Is it just the bare basics, would you say?
No, with certain things like editing, because there's so much to editing, right?
Sure.
Color grading, VFX. Like we had a VFX class, we had a coloring class, but there's
editing
only
is a
so
great example
much
because
that you
editing
can
is something
really
you can't
year.
really teach. It's something that you have to eventually.
It's an art form in itself.
You have to eventually feel right, but there are rules, so you should be taught the rules. You should be taught when looking for work. A lot of times it's do you edit on X platform, and I'm like, bro, I'm an editor. Like I'll edit on my fucking platform.
Matter?
You don't go to an artist and be like,
what paint do you use?
Exactly. What brand scissors? What brand scissors or brushes are you using?
This might be a good visual. If you had like a bar graph and every bar was a department, you're gonna have a little bit of every bar, but you're gonna have more of the ones that you fell in love with when you're at school because you just focused on it more.
Okay.
Like I shot a lot of projects when I was there, and because that's what I liked, and my classmates thought I did a good job.
Picked you up because, we like how he's shooting. We'll put him on camera.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So my
where
bar on camera,
where your actual talent shines dictates your actual education in that school.
Yeah, I mean, if you're bad at your job, people are going to know day one that you're bad at your job.
Yeah,
definitely.
Like, I've worked with bad sound guys.
But let's leave that.
Same.
And I've worked with great sound guys. And the difference is astronomical. You can tell day one.
Absolutely. From
Day
the start.
one.
First scene. By the end of the first scene,
for certain slots. Yeah. So that's good that the school kind of weasels you down or weeds you out into like, well, I tried that. I didn't do well. I did well at this. Let me focus on that. That's nice.
Yeah.
I want to frame this question because I don't want to put
a little more.
I don't want to put the school on blast, but I am curious on what their stance is on continued education after you leave. And then what is your stance as far as like what you got out of school and how you feel as far as your education goes, as far as what holes are missing?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing, so they are accredited now. So if you do want to further your education, you can
pass your credits
at certain universities.
That's awesome.
They are actually on the Directors Guild website. MPI is now on there.
Oh,
as a
wonderful
option.
Oh, nice.
But I think that they just need more like resources. They can't handle 100 kids per class.
Right.
They can't handle 1,000 kids a class, right? But when I was graduating, I almost wished that they had a graduate program to where you could just pick your spot and just go with it.
Yeah.
But that's just honestly not realistic with the setup that they have, and that's nothing against them.
Well, Motion Picture
Specs was
Institute,
the
if
same
you're
way.
listening,
You're given a
we see a path for your future growth, and maybe you should listen.
Yeah, Joe and I are both alumni of
Specs
Specs,
graduates, yeah.
and it was the same. First off, when I went, it was a different focus than when Joe went. There was a transition between what they were expecting their students. When I went, it was mostly TV news and just TV in general, so it wasn't really a film concentration. Then they went into adding Final Cut, and they bought a new location in Farmington where they could do film, so they added stuff like dollies and more film centric type stuff because they've seen it coming, but they weren't. It was still just a breakfast bar of samples of what you could.
And I will
taste.
say, MPI has a lot of very good equipment, like industry standard equipment.
Yeah.
Like when I'm at set at MPI versus when I was working professionally, there wasn't much of a hiccup at all.
Right.
Like
Which
I
is
really
good. That's a
felt-
good transition.
Yeah, like I felt like I was just like at school still. And
So we shot there for Corruption, so I got to see some of the lights and some of the set design, but what I didn't see was camera. What type of camera did you have hands on? Then?
So your first project, which is right away, right when you're in, you're starting your first project, you're on a Canon T3i.
Which I think is a great place to start. 'Cause
It really
gives you
is.
depth of field, it gives you variable lenses, and it allows you to have to work with light.
Yeah, and we did work with prime lenses the whole time.
Okay.
We didn't have to shoot on like a 18 to 135 like on every project. So like that was my favorite part, was that the equipment was suffice, is that the right word, for the project at hand. So as
There's no reason to shoot a 6K student project.
you wouldn't even know what to do with that footage.
For what? You have to think about the end game. Where is this going to go at the end? And is it important?
Right. And so then your second, so that's a non-dialogue project. You don't even have a sound guy on set.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you might have like Foley or something, but I mean, I just use the scratch audio from the camera for all my audio stuff.
Interesting.
Second one is a dialogue film where you do bring in the sound department, and you get a Canon C100, so you're going honestly a good step
a good
up.
camera. It's a good camera.
It's an absolute workhorse of a camera. And then for your thesis project, we actually got to use the Red Dragon 6Ks.
Okay.
And
Nice.
I don't think that we shot in 6K, maybe 4K max. We might have shot some
'cause
stuff.
why?
But yeah, those files are so big to work with. And you have to render
monotonous to
everything.
try.
And
I mean, it's a good lesson in developing
the
proxies,
only
which
reason
I
I could see
hands down
being
support as a
that,
workflow.
yeah,
For
but
the only reason I could see
they really
in
every
school is filming in 6K is for the file transfer. And
oh yeah. And like imagine like your friend, your buddy, your classmate is editing
like,
your
if
project, and you have to give them all those files.
like if you're
Oh
not
my
there
God.
wanting to learn DIT, what a burden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
Speaking of
fucking dare
DIT,
you?
you know Doug.
Oh, I
Jesse-
love Doug.
Yeah, he was in my class. Great
Shout
dude.
out
Doug.
And I work with him all the time. He actually just edited a music video that we just did. And I forgot where I was. Oh, so like with every project, they upgrade you on equipment every time because they teach you how to handle that next step of equipment. And then that allows you to upgrade your look, your feels, your vision really gets to upgrade. So your thesis project, which I didn't do a thesis project. I actually shot everybody's thesis projects.
So your thesis project was being everyone else's DP.
Literally. I shot all of them.
Which
but
I
one.
think has got to
gotta
count.
look
That's gotta
real out
count.
of it, dude.
So at
That's
no
awesome.
point is there no point in. For example, so I'll give our answer. Spec Howard was 4 semesters. Your first 2, everyone had to do
8
radio
months.
/TV. After that, after those
You
2,
picked radio or
TV, and you went to a concentration.
in my year it was radio or film.
And then you had, to score. There was a director's grade, there was an editor's grade.
It's
and
funny
so
that
forth,
they
but
called it film though because they were still teaching.
It was-
us
I was
news
TV.
broadcast.
Yeah, I was
like, It was
TV.
still television. They called it film. They taught us television.
Is there ever a point where you choose a concentration of any kind, or is it
So
always pretty much open to every student?
The classes are open to everybody. I was in camera class with my whole class. I was in editing class with my whole class. Like we would sit there, the teachers would just swap out. You know what I'm saying?
That's convenient.
It's
But
when
you
you're
guys
on set.
decided who in the class was best for each role.
Yeah,
for
but
your
that was
project.
through seeing them work,
Right.
people's preferences, like.
So it's more like a natural selection type of situation?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
like if you're going in there to learn to be a director, you might learn that maybe I'm better at camera, maybe
So
I'm better at lights,
the-
and your team of classmates would tell
Yeah.
you.
I
what
think
you,
the downside-
Hey, you really shine over here. Can I have you there? And
Absolutely.
even if you didn't like it, you kind of learn.
Absolutely,
because
because we would shoot like little projects during class. Like they would like 2 hours, like maybe an hour of lecture, and then go shoot for the rest of the time that we're at class. Like go shoot this little scene that
go
they gave
play
us.
with the toys.
Yeah, and so through that time, you learn to work with people, which is a huge skill to have.
You have to have that
Oh
on
my
set.
gosh, that's a skill to have.
It's the biggest variable that I love about
Working with
set.
people that you don't like is a skill that a lot of people can probably pick up on a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't have to
I
bully
think that's a
Marge because she brings cookies and doesn't give you any.
That's a make or break.
You learn to butter up Marge so she gives you one of the fucking
It's a
cookies.
make or break
Great analogy.
community skill to have on set is to be able to work with anybody that because you can't choose who your teams are.
Man,
most
there
times.
are people I hate that fucking love working with.
You just have
Isn't that funny how that works
you
sometimes?
have to be able to be a team player because otherwise you're gonna start burning the bridges of the opportunities that are available to you.
Yep.
But I really did enjoy my time there. I mean, for a 1-year program, dude, like they slingshot you right into the industry.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like I felt very competent in filmmaking, and I was ready to go start working professionally.
Did they offer up suggestions of external material to look into? Any suggestions of books or courses
Like
or anything?
documentaries.
So
Master
we weren't
classes.
required to.
Not necessarily required, but at least offered. Like, hey, like, did they talk about In the Blink of an Eye? Did they talk about the art of the cut?
So our specific teachers, I couldn't tell you exactly what they recommended us, but like my cinematography teacher, Rob Skates, he told us what books he reads about cinematography.
That's the conversation.
To be fair, you did say you weren't a good student. So
Once I got to MPI, dude,
changed.
I've never worked harder
Right,
in
when
school
you
my
find your
entire
passion,
life.
yeah.
Like I loved going to school. When I was in high
buckle
school.
down
Dude, when I was in
just-
high school, I used to get stoned before class every fucking day. Like
Right.
I didn't give a shit about
I
high school.
still do that.
Yeah, that's fine. But like editing teacher definitely gave us, if this is what you're into, this is what we use.
Yeah.
Like they definitely did suggest material, but it wasn't like expected that you'd go actually.
Right, and it's not necessarily. Well, first off, like I would like to see that ingrained, just based on a comment I think you made a little bit earlier on this particular episode, where the number of people we end up on set with that seemed to not be aware of what they should be doing or what the roles and responsibilities are. And I think that's because there's a large number of people that believe that being on set is the only way to learn, as opposed to, taking the extra effort to put into your education.
Learning on set from professionals is probably the most practical way to learn.
Of course.
But yeah, we live in the day of YouTube. You can look up anything about any camera or any sound recorder or any lights. Like, I remember Lamar got these 300Xs.
Yeah.
And they were stuck in like a strobe mode.
Oh, God.
And I could not get it out of it. So I just went on YouTube and looked up how to get it back
It was
to
aperture, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was aperture 300X.
So if you're using an aperture 300X and you try to switch lighting modes, it's very difficult. You can hit back. You can go to CTT. You have to go into Sidus or straight up go into control systems and turn it from studio mode, whether it's on or off.
Yep.
Switch it
Off and back on. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Been there.
That was a head scratcher for me for sure.
But if you go into Sidus, then you can control it because it doesn't have this back button.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't even tell you what I did to
600s
undo it.
have.
That's the worst when you finally
I
figure
could
it
tell.
out
Yeah.
and don't know what it was.
You're Joe Quick.
Oh, there you go.
Right. But it is. I think for me,
I live for knowing these buttons.
for me, the example was working on a set with Ish, and I got to work with the Orbital.
Oh,
and
yeah,
he
Ishtabak,
started
man.
commanding
Oh, I know him.
a particular color space, and it took me
was a girl named him.
A girl like him, yeah. And it took me a minute to figure it out because there were multiple different modes. It had a touch screen that was like seems cool, and
it was so weird when it came out, man.
And so I became the only one to be able to get on this particular day to get this particular pink because I had to I was just doing something, and he was like, wait, there. But it wasn't one of the pre-selected colors. So every time he switched back and come back in, I had to, I was just trying to learn the damn thing.
I found it.
I just had to try and learn the damn thing. But my point being that, when you have new equipment and you get to play, we're always going to be in those situations. And it's how you manage yourself and how you come out of it more or less.
And I also think the biggest learning points are not only from your failures, but watching other people fail.
The failures of others. 100%.
Because if you can look at how they messed up, like, you know how many times I've worked with producers where I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is a mess. Like,
I will never do that.
This point is where they're failing. Like, on my set, I'll try to avoid this.
Right. And it's not that I knew beforehand, but it was because of my observation that now I can say, I'm going to avoid that.
Yeah. And even you can learn from people that are great at their jobs.
100%. 100%.
Like, it's not just, you don't only mess up because you're bad at something. Like, you can mess up because you're
some
you're
of my best lessons are from the most talented individuals I've ever seen work this industry. And when they mess up, they do it with grace and with stature. And I take note of that, as well as that mistake was avoidable.
Yeah.
And now they even realize it.
Yeah.
So learn from the mistakes of others.
Composure while making
learn
mistakes.
from your own mistakes.
Because composure on set is everything.
You can't be afraid to fail.
Yeah, but when energy transfers, like Kamal always talks about energy up, because literally if the director is in a bad mood, that thing spreads like disease. Yeah. And it can be someone as low as an AC being in a bad mood that spreads it out to people.
Sure. Yeah. It's the transference of energy, like you said. It's infectious in a way that we don't read. It's subconscious, and it just starts to spread. And it usually, if it's not a personal problem that one particular person is not feeling the energy, but it's a set problem, that means you're going to have small inklings of it in four corners around you. And even that little bit of dissension starts to submerge into the snarkiness that
trying to hide it.
Yeah, the snarkiness and the snapping that an MUA will give you, or the snapping you hear the DP doing to the gaffer, separate from your own job. Everything affects. And we can't avoid it in the sense that we have to accept that it's going to be there. You
have
they just snap at each other. Is that going to come back to me? Am I going to get yelled at for a lens?
Yeah,
but we do have to be conscious of it. And if you're one of the problems, if I'm ever a problem, it is appreciated when someone points it out, and see if especially because in my position, I'm a lead transference of energy. If I'm stumping around like a real pissant, that sucks hope away from everybody.
For the life of me, I could not understand why Brad would go into the logistics side of this. But then I remembered one day, there was this time where he would say, we're not artists, we're workers. And I was like, well, I'm an artist. And I was like, that made me realize, well, maybe, obviously I know Brad, he is an artist. He just maybe didn't realize it at the time. But that being said, his strong suit lies in finding the way out of a situation logistically.
Absolutely.
So the creativity is not secondary. It's a priority.
That's great.
And that was a beautiful realization for me. Where I realized what I have in a partner is somebody who doesn't see himself as a creative.
Yeah.
Even though he is.
Yeah. And the thing too is you really have to be coachable in this industry. I know I'm just some young guy, but I feel like I expect things to be a certain way, and people expect my job to be done a certain way. Sure. It all comes down to how you communicate that to someone, because if you just go for someone's throat right away, they're not going to take that piece of advice.
Correct. No, but when you come in with a standard and an expectation, people respond to it, especially when you do it respectfully, which I think you do with Spades, sir. Knuckles.
Thank you.
Well, Ian, I want to thank you so much for coming on and talking with us today. I think this conversation has been incredibly enlightening. Are there any particular statements that you have yet to make as far as your experiences thus far that you want to share with anybody who might be desiring to come into the industry?
Yeah, I mean, it's a people business as much as it's a bunch of people coming together with a common goal, and we have to know how to work with each other in the correct manner because, I mean, I've been on great sets where if I only complain about going long on a couple days, like that is fine.
Yeah.
But if I have to complain about this person being, a dick to me, this, and this, like...
It gets exhausting.
It does get exhausting.
The job itself is already exhausting, so the extra weight starts to really tear you down.
Absolutely. I mean, there's been very, very few sets to where I am dreading going the next day.
Sure.
But there's been 90% of the sets I've worked on where I am just so grateful for the opportunity. I'm always grateful for the opportunity, but it's just,
when you're on a set with that right energy where everybody brings their A game and they're leaving their ego at the door because this is a collective vision, it's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
But as soon as someone's ego steps in the door, everybody can have a bad day.
Yeah.
And if you just be a team player.
There was something that I learned when I was in sales that I don't think I've ever mentioned on this show before, but I do believe especially in relation to the statements you guys both just made, is important. So there was, and I don't remember the name of the guy. He was automotive sales trainer, but he always made in all of his seminars this statement that when you come to work, you need to take all the shit that you're dealing with, put it in a paper bag, and leave it on the corner.
Leave your baggage at the door.
And that's what we say. We leave your bag of shit outside. And it's hard. None of us are perfect at it. But if you remember that when you get to set and you're like, okay, this is nobody else's problem, then you leave your shit outside. Second to that, we spoke a lot about negative energy transferring, but I think the three of us here are all representative of this. Positive energy is as infectious. And if you can bring that positive energy to kind of match and battle the negative energy,
when I'm having a bad day and I show up on set, I go hard into the smiles.
Yeah.
I don't want you to ask me about my personal life. I want to be, what am I lighting? How are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't fucking talk about me.
I will say too, I definitely wear my emotions. I wear my heart on my sleeve.
I do too. That's why it's hard to say.
If I'm having a bad day, you can see it on my face. But I'm not gonna let my bad day hold everyone back. I'm just gonna go do my job, whether I'm
director
happy,
pull me
sad,
aside
or
and say,
mad.
"What's wrong with you today?"
Yeah.
Nothing, man. I'm good. Could you get my energy up?
Yeah.
But then I might sneak
home is
over.
a little hard. I'm glad I'm here. Get me happy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I might sneak over to Joe or Brad and tell them what's actually going on and why I'm actually upset. If you got
something to bitch about, come to Cynical Corner, and we got you. Not only will we listen to you be cynical, we will uplift you afterwards.
Well, that's the important
we
thing.
love the cynicism.
And that's what's important about making friends out here, because it really is as much of a business it is, you really have to have those people around you, because nobody does this by themselves.
No.
You can't. It's impossible.
Team effort.
That last feature wouldn't have been feasible without the camaraderie that we had.
We probably needed more people even.
Sure. We always need more people.
Yeah,
we always need more people. Always need more time.
Yeah,
always need more money.
But the camaraderie was there.
So, Ian, throw your social out there. At this point, I stand behind Ian as a first AC. I've worked with him on a number of projects, so I definitely put my hat in the ring for thumbs up on Ian.
I stand this man behind this man as an AC so much that if his aspiration is producer and you don't know what you're doing, you hire this motherfucker. 'Cause he knows what he's doing.
Thank you, guys. That means a lot.
So how can someone get a hold of you? Should they desire to reach out?
Instagram is usually where I do a lot of my networking. So @_Ian_Carroll_. That's Carroll with 2 R's and 2 L's.
And Joe, how can people find you?
You got the @chaotic_artisan. There's also the IMDb, Joseph Sheldon Quick, same on Facebook. And obviously, what this motherfucker's about to tell you.
Yep, you can try and find me on Instagram at Beeford Clark. There will be a time I will get that back. I'm the one. I am the one and only Beeford Clark, but right now I don't have access because of some shitty criminal. But you can also reach us at UF Podcast. I'm reading the website. You can also read. I'm so bad at this exit. UFOstudio.Detroit on Instagram, but then you can also go to our website at ufpodcast.podbean.com. Our Facebook is Unorthodox Film Podcast, and on our website you can find links to our Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and on our merch store, the UFO Bazaar. Where you can the Bazaar, baby. Our t-shirts, our very comfortable hoodies. I wore so many hoodies this winter. I'm telling you, like for real, they're comfortable and warm.
They're so comfortable, and we have many styles.
And we've got a lot of styles.
We got mugs, we got glasses, we got coffee cups, we got buttons.
I encourage you guys to like and subscribe wherever you listen to us. Give us feedback with positive reviews, comments. We'd love to get you involved in the conversation. And if you have any additional questions for Ian or ourselves, let us know. You can email us at ufostudio.detroit@gmail.com. So thank you everybody for listening, and we will see you next time.
Yeah.
See ya.